It's 5:30. We'll call the board meeting to order, and let's stand and please do the pledge. Be led by Trustee Mary Ann Lee.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
And Trustee Jimmy Ferguson will lead us in prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come now thanking you for the blessings of life. We thank you for the wonderful administrators, our community, the wonderful kids that go to school here. We ask that you give us the wisdom to make the best decision for our community and most of all for the kids that attend ISD. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We'll start with our Hornet Legend Spotlight.
Well, this is my favorite time of the meeting. We have our recognitions, and in the summer months, June and July, we don't have kids and teachers to honor. We do something special. We honor former educators that made a big impact here. And so it's not necessarily based on how many years you put in, but the quality as well. And so I'm going to start with Sue Dixon tonight. I had Sue and Linda both as my teachers, and I lived to tell the tale. And so Sue began her teaching career with a stint from 72 to 76 in other districts. Then she took some years to raise her two daughters before she returned to GISD in 1987. From that time until her retirement in May of 2002, Ms. Dixon would primarily teach high school science, including physical science, chemistry, and AP chemistry. That's what I had her for. Despite the tough content of these subjects, Ms. Dixon's patient and caring attitude toward her students helped them excel. Her supervisors noticed additional strengths that Sue brought to teaching. For example, Mike Barr noted, "No one works harder to prepare for class than Ms. Dixon." Larry Anderson said, "Excellent rapport between Ms. Dixon and her students. It was obvious that students enjoyed the class and were having fun while learning difficult material." And then Roland Lambert said, "You have again developed excellent rapport with your students. There's always a good climate of teaching and learning in your classes." So for all those reasons, we wanted to honor Sue as a Hornet Legend. And I hadn't seen her since graduation, so this is my ploy to get her here. So, Sue, do you have any words for us?
No, I just thank you. I don't really feel real deserving.
Well, you are, Sue, you are. Well, we've got a certificate for you, and we'll take a picture with you.
Okay.
Yes. You're going to be Gatesville Messenger famous.
Oh.
Maybe no.
Yeah.
All right, on two. 1, 2. Get 2 more. And 1 more. 1, 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And then next up is Linda Graham. Linda started her teaching career in 1967 at the Gatesville State School for Boys. She transitioned to GISD in January of '71. That's always hard to transition mid-year, where she would teach a variety of grades and subjects, including 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, as well as some art classes. However, it was primarily 6th grade English that Ms. Graham would teach until her retirement from GISD in May of '99. Linda would teach a generation of Gatesville youth basics in reading, writing, and grammar. Her witty humor and willingness to always help students made her very well liked. Her former appraisers noted her exceptional teaching. Greg Hines wrote, "Your courtesy and encouragement bring out the best in students." James Bay said, "Ms. Graham effectively captured and held student attention. She was patient and supportive of her students." And Don Edwards wrote, "Ms. Graham does an excellent job in the classroom. She relates well with her students and has a great working relationship with all of her parents. She's a real asset to our school system." So again, for all those reasons, Linda, we wanted you to be a Hornet Legend.
Thank you so much.
Linda, any words?
Well, like Sue, I don't feel deserving, but
Well, you are.
you know, I'm gonna have to talk right from here. I can't stand very long, but recently, well, it wasn't very recent. Actually, it was a number of years ago. I went to Hamilton and was walking around in an antique store, just looking at things. And a young man came up to me and he said, "Are you Miss Graham?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Did you teach at Gatesville?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "You may not remember me, but the kids call me the train boy." But he said, in your class, I always felt, you know, very special.
Yeah.
And he said, "I felt like I mattered."
That's good.
And I hope that's what I,
Yeah.
and, you know, gave students, that they had that sense of feeling good about themselves.
That's what they remember years from their school days, not the
I think
content
so.
so much as it is the relationships.
It is, it's true.
Linda and Sue also donated money to my personal slush fund to get this. Linda, do you want me to sit next to you?
Yeah, that's all right. I mean,
Is that what you want to do?
I can get up.
Okay,
I
whatever.
would like
Liz
to.
like she.
She can get it.
I don't look.
Get up and right over your foot, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine, you're only using it.
All right, let's see, on two, and one more. Thank you.
And now if you want to stay for the entirety of the 3-hour meeting, you
I
can.
don't think so. I'll pass on that. I'm sure it will be interesting.
We appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you so much.
Next on our agenda is therapy dog.
Linda, my kids remember.
Oh.
You want me to get down here with you?
Hopefully I'll be able to get back.
If you'll holler, if you'll say his name, he'll look at you. Bishop.
Hey, what's his name?
Bishop.
Bishop. Hey, Bishop.
He's watching me. He's watching.
There we go. Hey, Bishop. All right, thank you.
Loves Krista.
I put together a little piece of information for you, and so that you understand what is going on, Krista, thank you. What we're trying to do with him. He was a godsend. He is mine. I've had him about 6 months. Didn't want the dog, but God said, "Oh no, he's yours." And so I have a therapy dog. Him and I went last week to Sweetwater, and he is now officially certified by an AKC. It's Therapy Dog International. And so he went through the whole, it was a test, and he passed. He did so good, and I didn't even know if he could, but he's smarter than me. And they had to tell me which way to go on the maze, and he, not him. So anyway, we started bringing him, or I started bringing him last year, and Krista and I started working with him and figured out that he is just a natural for a keen sense of awareness of emotions, and can sense when someone is in distress or unhappy, and he will actually pick those people out. He loves working. He loves to come to school and greet people. Most of y'all all know him. His only job is to give love. That's it. That's all. And to bring joy. He, as Krista can attest, we've had kids crying in the floor, and he just go up and sit in their lap. He'll walk up and down the classroom, and he'll go to every child without me leading him. I'll just let him go, and he'll go to every student, and then he'll come back to a certain one. And those are the ones that we then start saying, is something going on with this child? What's happening? So he gravitates towards those people. And it's phenomenal because he hasn't been trained to do that kind of it's not a scent thing. He just is a natural. So when I approached Dr. Pollard and Dr. Harper about having a therapy dog, because studies now show that not only for social emotional learning, how it's decreasing stress levels, how it's increasing test scores, how it's even for staff. I mean, staff, I can attest the teachers run out faster than the kids do when I take them into a classroom. And so everyone all of a sudden becomes calm and happy and loving. He can sense if someone is not a dog lover usually, and he sits on Dr. Harper's feet a lot. Like, I'm just gonna sit on your feet because I know you don't want to pet me, so guess what? So, but he's not, he doesn't demand it. He senses it, and so he won't go up to, most of the time he won't go up to anybody that normally doesn't want to pet him. And that's okay, because there's people who are not dog lovers or animal lovers. And so that is a natural thing with him also. We want to make sure that he's available for all campuses, teachers, staff. I'd love to have, a few minutes with the staff, with teachers this year, to meet staff and to bring him so that they know they can call us too. We can work individually, we can work group, we can go into classrooms, we can de-escalate crisis situations. Also, as some people know in this room, I have a couple of kids this year that moved in and needed a purpose. And so they became my official bishop trainers. And so they would come over and take him around for 20-30 minutes and hang out with him, and they felt like they had there was something that they could contribute. And so he's brought mail to to all the campuses with the aides. He's already very well known, and I'm so excited about having him, and I think he's going to make a huge difference with our kids and our staff. And would you like to add? Because Krista's worked with him, she's taken him around, she's introduced him, she's worked with him. It's all him, it's not me. And we hope that we'll make a difference together, and we want to be a part of each campus.
We have the opportunity. I was cleaning out some emails, and actually this time a year ago I was researching therapy dogs and things like that. Now, I don't know if you watch the news, there's an organization called Bella's Buddies, and they, after the stabbing at Belton, they took dogs over there, and they were there for the grief. Right now, I willingly went further back on their waiting list. I will be getting a therapy dog from Bella's Buddies in late August or early September, because we sent the rest of them to Uvalde. They were on the waiting list, they were in dire need, and I said, just push us back, we have one. But their goal, she is a retired administrator, and she started volunteering at the school that she retired from, and with her therapy dog, and saw the need, and then started training them and all that stuff. So they're trained on 3 different levels. They're bred with poodles, golden retriever poodles, labradoodles, things like that, and she trains them just for this purpose. And so last year she placed 14 dogs at no cost to the district. It's a charity thing, so we could do fundraisers if we want, and that money would then place a dog with another school district. She has several school districts that now have a dog on every campus, and she gave examples of, one student, I think he had like 50-something referrals, and then when the therapy dog got in there and got with this child, that child had dramatically decreased in referrals, discipline referrals, therapy issues, things like that. Attendance has gone up, STAR test numbers have gone up. Teachers said that even just regular course exams with the dog, they'll request the dog to be in the room while they're taking the exam, and scores are higher. So it's proven to be successful everywhere else, and that's just another resource that I feel like we can utilize here. We up and we go places, and actually intermediate, at the end of school year, it's a stressful time. We took Bishop, and the teachers are like, hang on, this teacher's had a rough day. Can I go cover her class real quick? And she come out and just love on the dog. And they were doing that as a team at intermediate, and they were, so it's not just for the students, it's for the staff, it's for the morale, things like that. But that's something that, that we're working towards, is to just see how the therapy dogs can improve the morale and nature of GISD.
Do y'all have any questions? he loves to work, and when I get his collar, his bandana, his GISD therapy dog bandana, man, that tail starts wagging, and he is ready to get in the car. And if I get to the office and we don't go, he sits at the door. Like, I know there's school over there and there's kids over there, and I'm ready. And
He waits for me.
He waits for Krista. Well, now,
Take him.
Pam took him this afternoon, so now he's Pam's dog.
He traveled with me this afternoon.
So he likes everybody. He will just do whatever you want him to do, but he's so good. This is his disposition all the time, and we took him to a pep rally. And there was, oh my gosh, there was so much noise, and that was my big test for him. I wanted to see how he would do. The cheerleaders were jumping, the band was playing, and this was him. And so I knew right then that I had a special gift given to me, and I had to utilize this dog in some manner. And he's going to go see everybody.
I don't know.
I keep bacon in my pocket just to see.
I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen like a severe anxiety attack, like seizure type anxiety attack. The first day that we took him to high school, there was a student in one of the counselor's offices having a severe panic attack. And we came with the dog, and she actually came out of the counselor's office and sat on the floor, and Bishop just crawled in her lap. And you could visibly see her de-escalating. You could visibly see it work. And that's when we were like, this is something, that we really need to have here. Sometimes words just don't say it all, but, love of an animal does. So that's just one example of a testimony that really did work rather quickly.
Well, guys, thank y'all for being here.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. He wants to work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He wants a treat in a minute, and he knows if he doesn't see everybody, he won't get one. That's what he does right here.
See, don't y'all feel happier now?
Everybody's smiling. Look at that. Are you ready? All right, say thank you. You ready?
He says, I heard you say treat.
That would be
I've heard that keyword.
We come to the point on the agenda for public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to comment to the board publicly? It's about something that's not on the agenda. If not, we'll move to consent agenda. These are the items on the consent agenda that we would just go ahead and accept unless one of the board members wants to pull one of them to discuss. Minutes of the June 2022 regular meeting, financial statements as of June 30th, 2022, bills and payrolls for June 2022, budget amendments, year-to-date budget amendments to fund balance, vital signs report, T-test certified appraisers, T-test calendar, and T-test timeline, information items, attendance tracks. We'll stop there. I think that's it. End of year inventory scores. I've gone too far.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
T-test was the last one.
One thing that you might know that the school board gets all of this information online prior to the meeting. And you may think, why are we not taking time to go over all of this? It's on our computers at home, and we've read through it. Sometimes if there's a question, we'll call and ask about it. That's why we don't spend time on things that are just, routine. Does anybody want to pull any of the items for discussion? Do I hear a motion that we accept these items? Can I have Mary Ann? Do we have a second? Jimmy? All in favor? Okay, now we'll go back to reports. And the first one is attendance tracks.
Good evening. Yes.
It's hard to follow the dog.
That's right. It's tough. It's just boring from here on out, isn't it? Trying to make it quick. Looks pretty long tonight. Each district, must operate so that it provides 75,600 minutes of instruction, and so that includes all the other free time during the day, including PE, lunch, and things like that. And so We have these attendance tracks that we work off. I think you guys looked at kind of school start and end times last month. And so these are just the attendance tracks to make sure that we meet 75,600 minutes. And so we run four different tracks, and so we name them. But track 00 is pre-K, and we went and added a few minutes, especially to the primary, because we had some bad weather days last year, and we had to make up some time. The last several weeks of school, we had to add 7 minutes to each day in order to get to that 75,600. So we kind of extended the times at primary a little bit, but you can see that pre-K, their minutes are 77,105, same as kindergarten. And then elementary has a little bit more, their day ends a little bit later. And then junior high and high school, intermediate, junior high and high school, they go even a little bit longer. You know, an intermediate used to end at 3:35, but I think we pushed it back 3:40 right, Bridget, this year. That way we're not working off so many different attendance tracks, and so that's part of the reason. And then DAEP, we have to have so many required minutes. That's 43,200 minutes, and we actually have 66,450 minutes in that day. And then wings is another one. And so 43,200 minutes is required, and we actually have 81,300. Now we have 2 sessions of wings. We run an 8 to noon and a noon to 4. You're not counting just 4 hours. You're counting the operational minutes of that program. And so they go from 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You guys have any questions about attendance tracks?
Do you prefer that than days, minutes, as far as scheduling? And
I guess it gives us a little bit more flexibility, because before, if you had a bad weather day, you would have to make it up. But as long as you had enough minutes built in your schedule and you had a bad weather day and you were still meeting the 75,600, you wouldn't have to make that day up.
So like BAEP, where it says 43,200 minutes required, we were in session 66.
Correct.
Okay, I was reading that the other way around.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the requirement is 43,200, but we're actually over 66,000 with that. And then you guys, it has the charts back there in your packets too. Kind of breaks it all down. It tells you how many minutes we're over. A school day's about 440 minutes or something. So we have about 3 days built up, at least minimum, in most of these schedules, these attendance tracks.
Okay, end of year inventory score.
Got the next one. So end of year inventory score. So this is looking at just some of our end of year reading and math assessments that we gave to students. And the first one we look at is pre-K. It's called the Circle. It's a required assessment that you have to give pre-K students. It's kind of measuring kindergarten readiness, and so just do they have the developmental? It's measuring their developmental areas, and so we look at reading and math, and you can kind of look at from beginning of the year to end of the year. We had 30% of the kids needing support at the beginning of the year, and 70% of them on track, and at the end of the year, that number dropped to 16 for needing support, and then increased to 84% for those that were on track. And then math, very similar. It was 19 and 81, and then 16 and 84 by the end of the year. So we saw some progress there on that assessment. Kindergarten is the one we have to give, also called the TexKIA. The Texas Kindergarten Entry Assessment. It kind of measures kindergarten readiness as well, and it's measured based on track, monitoring, or needing support. And you can kind of see where we were at the beginning of the year in reading. We were 16% of our kindergartners were on track, 23% were kind of a monitor, and then 62% were needing support. And then by the end of the year, we'd flip that around. And then the same for math. It went from 42% on track to 68%, 50% needing support to 27%. And a lot of these are required. You have to give and some sort of assessment K through 2, and typically you have to give what the state wants you to give. And so we have a few choices, but we don't have many. And so first grade, the one that we give is called the TPRI, the Texas Primary Reading Inventory, and then the Texas Early Mathematics Inventory is called TIMI. And so you can kind of see where first graders performed on this one. This is based on whether it's still developing or if you're developed. And so you can see first graders in reading were 47% were still developing at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year it was down to 33. And so this is a really heavy phonics-based assessment. And then the TIMI for the math, the next one there, that's a 2-minute timed test that kids have, and it's based on a lot bigger, it's a broader range, but beginning of the year, average to very superior scores. You can see that one kind of dropped a little bit from beginning of the year to the end of the year, but like I said, it's a timed test, and it's based off of, it builds upon the skills that you learn throughout the year.
Well, the expectation at the end of your test is harder and higher than it was at the beginning of the year. So you might have gotten 7 right on this section at the beginning of the year, been okay, and gotten 10 right at that same section at the end of the year, and you're not okay. So you gotta grow.
Progress. Second grade, we still give the TPRI for reading, and then the TIMI for math, and you can kind of see where those guys fall. So 54% were still developing. By the end of the year, it was cut down to 40%. And then TIMI, it's kind of, that one took a little bit of a drop as well, but it's just same thing, went from 80% from average to very superior to 72%. But like I said, that one's it grows throughout the year. And then we kind of get to BAS, which you guys are more used to seeing. And you can kind of see where we started in third grade. So in third grade, at the beginning of the year, 38% of our kids were reading below grade level, and at the end of the year, it jumped up to 42. So it took a little bit of a jump, a decline there as well, but you can kind of see the approaching, it got less, and the on level increase, and the above level is falling behind just a little bit.
But what's crazy about that is that this doesn't jive though with the third grade reading star scores. So this is an informal test that our teachers just give, and we've theorized, I don't know if our teachers have such a high expectation that they grade it hard, because then when they take the state test, Keegan, how they do, I don't know if that's
we're getting to the to the star next. Okay. But yeah, it's hard to know. It's so subjective, as one grade level where some teachers more harsh on students than others are. And so it's hard to say. This one's just so subjective.
Do you test your own students?
You test your own students. Fourth grade, you can look there at fourth grade. So beginning of the year, 45% of fourth graders were reading below grade level, and at the end of the year it was 36. And then 39% were reading above grade level, and at the end of the year it was 48. Fifth grade, at the beginning of the year, 47% were reading below grade level. At the end of the year, it was 37%. And those, it's growing like, it's not a, you may have to be at this level at the beginning of the year, but the level's going to grow. It's going to increase, and you've got to continue to improve as well.
It's not static.
Yeah.
So in kindergarten, you start on an A, but you're expected to end on a C or a D. And so same with all these grades, it grows. So it's a moving target.
Yeah. So
another issue is how far below grade level.
Yeah.
When I was a principal, it would say we have 40-something% of kids that are below grade level, but 100% of those are 2 grades or more below.
Right.
So when you have kids coming to your campus that are reading on the first grade level, expected to take a 4th grade STAR test, you have to really dig into the data to see. So those increases are really bigger than what it looks like.
They sure are.
Because some of those kids have been brought all the way from 2 grade levels below up to whatever it is that you're showing.
And then by the time you get to 6th grade, they're getting to the end.
Right.
You know, most of the kids are exiting out, may not need a BAS. And so, you know, you can kind of see where it starts getting better and better. But 36% were reading below grade level in 6th grade, and by the end of the year, 24%. 39% were reading above at the beginning, to 57% were reading above. So, anyways, it's just some data. You know, like I said, it's hard to tell, you know, because it is so subjective. You know, the TPRI, the KIA, you know, that's more of an assessment base. It's not taking any teacher subjectivity into that. So, you guys have any questions about any of that? STAR. So this is just preliminary reports. Now the state, so what I did here is, you see in the blue, that's the state's approaches, meets, and masters. And this is released by TEA. This was a TEA release, press release that they did for third grade all the way through high school. And so that's the scores that the state is reporting how kids perform throughout the whole state on approaches, meets, and masters. And then in the yellow there, that's the district, how that grade level subject area performed as a district. So you can see third grade reading, the state was at 75 approaches, 50% meets, and 30% masters. But as a third grade here in Gatesville, our kids were 88% approaches, 57% meets, and 36% masters. And so I went through on that last column there, whether it was plus or minus. You know, were we better than the state, or were we under in those areas? So you see a lot of green there throughout the chart. You see some areas where we have some struggles that we've got to work in, but overall, looking at the preliminary data, you know, it doesn't look real bad.
Next year, there's going to be a STAR redesign. And so 75% of the test no more than 75% of the test can be multiple choice. And so there's going to be multi-answer questions. It's going to be, I can't remember what else. Gridables. I mean, drag and drops, because everything's going to be online also. Like this year, we gave 3rd and 4th grade on paper. Every student, even 3rd graders, have to take the test online. There's no more paper-based tests for the STAR. And so that's why there's going to be a lot of these different, so up to 25% of the test could be made up of these different test types. And so we don't know what that's going to do yet. Some of the vendors are still coming up to help support us and helping develop some question types so that we can start using those question types in some of our assessments that we give. And so we actually have Region 12 coming out here when everyone's back on contract. Is going to kind of give us some training on the redesign, on what that's going to look like. But the state says, like when they do the field test items, the field test questions, that they rate a question based on easy, medium, and hard. And based on those field tests, what those questions were on the field test, then they're going to keep the same percentage of easy, medium, and hard questions on the redesign as it was on the previous STAR test. So they're saying that it's going to be apples to apples, but with these different question types, it is going to be more difficult on kids because, I mean, like I said, it's not going to be one correct answer choice. Now, it may be 2 or 3, 4 correct answers on an answer choice. A drag and a drop to a map, or, you know, there's a lot of different options. So, anyway, so just something for us to look forward to. Another challenge.
That's right.
I'm really amazed at junior high algebra 1 is a math is a very, very
Yeah,
strong.
those are, you know, you gotta remember, those are our advanced, I put that on our chart, those are our advanced math kids in junior high. So yeah, those usually look, really good.
A shout out to 6th grade math, wow. +10, +12.
Yeah, 6th grade math looked really good. Biology, we do really well in biology. Biology numbers look really good. You know, we made a lot of improvements on some areas last year where we struggled, and then we struggled in some areas this year that we did well last year. So, you know, it's kind of a give and take.
All right.
But we keep working.
Oh, the one I've been waiting for since we got here, property tax.
Sorry, Shane.
I love this. It just gets even more fun, doesn't it?
Good evening, board. Hey, good to see everybody here. Got a full board tonight. All right, property tax. You know that in April, we received from the appraisal districts, what they call it, preliminary values on property. And in July, we get the certifieds. And those are the values that are used to send out the notices in early fall. On July the 1st, we received the certified values from Coriel, and then on the 15th of July, we received the certified values from Bell. GISD has 2 appraisal districts. One is Coriel, which is by far the largest, and the second was a smaller one, which is Bell counties. And you see there I've given you the 2022 certified net taxable values by county, which both of them total 1.211 on the certifieds as compared to 1.027, which were the preliminary values that I reported to you in April. I've also given you as a reference the comparison to last year's certified, which is 1.055. Means that the certified values have gone up 157 million from a year ago, which is almost a 15% increase. The estimated impact on the tax levy is about a 14.36% increase, and 1.252 would be the M&O side, and the increase on the INS is 267.52, a little bit smaller, 13% increase. I've given you a chart in your board packet, which outlines the various years as comparison on these values. Right there, that's it. And you of course realize that this does play into the revenues for the school district, but not altogether so, because of the way that the funding for school districts is established by the state of Texas. They're going to determine how much funding you need to educate your kids, and then they're going to take out the local property taxes and fund you the difference. So, you know, as the property taxes go up and down, so does the state revenue for the school district. The only exception this year is we're going up with the an additional penny, as you well know. Well, the golden penny, that's going to generate about $350,000 of additional revenues, which were used to fund the raises for the staff this year. So the overall levy looks to be a little over $12 million for 2022. And I've included in here the certified values from Coriel. At the time of the preparation of this document, Bell had not issued theirs at that point, so I did not include that in here. But it's very small comparison-wise. Any questions on property taxes? Not gonna answer for you? You good? It is what it is, right? All right, thank you very much. This is an information item only. Ready for the next one? All right, the next one has to do with budget update number 2. I gave you a budget update number 1 last board meeting, and it was a sad picture at that time. Hadn't improved a whole lot, but we have come up with cuts because we promised that we were going to present to you in August at the board workshop, budget workshop, a balanced budget. So we had to go in and cut about $1.7 million out of the version 1 that I presented last month. That has been done, and that's this spreadsheet that I have here, right there. So you see that column, about what, the 4th column from the right, and the very bottom is a pink number, which totals about 1.7 million. Scroll down a little bit, right there. So see that 1.7 million? Those are the cuts that we've made since we met with you last month. And the numbers above that would reflect how much each program was cut. So these are some pretty major cuts. The $674,000 came out of HR. The raises are in there. There's no layoffs. We basically cut out any open position. We typically had open positions that we budget for every year. They're all cut out. So this is just a bare bones budget based on the number of employees that we have on the books. But as far as there were no personnel cuts, we're doing some cuts by attrition as we are able to. But no one was given the pink slip, and everything's good. All right, and the raises are going through. So we met with all the different campuses, principals, and we gave them target numbers, which basically were the target numbers that were in effect in 2018-19. We went back to the 18-19 year, which is the pre-pandemic era, and we decided that those are going to be pretty much the budget targets for 2023, 18-19. So you see there the approved are the target numbers that we gave each of the departments. Most of the departments have come through with their adjustments that they to meet these targets. I think I still have a couple of departments that are out. To give you an idea of what was cut, principally travel, pretty much all travel is getting cut next year in terms of the staff going to conferences, that kind of thing. What to do Zooms, but the travel part is going to be cut pretty much to zero. Librarians got a cut in their books, so we're not buying any books out of the general fund for next year. The books that they have is what they're going to have to make do with. But most librarians in these campuses already have an activity account that they've built up over the years. And if they have essential books that they can purchase, they're going to have to use their activity accounts. Let's see, what else can I go over here real quick with you? Kate, cut a little bit. The fine arts, I'm still waiting for that budget to come back. Athletics, still waiting for that budget to come back. Anything superfluous is getting cut pretty much. If they can put off a rotation on a jersey or something like that, they're going to put it off a year. There may be some cuts in the food that the teams expend on their trips. I haven't gotten that completely firm from Coach Phillips, and but he's talking about that and charging that to activity accounts. They have some pretty handsome activity accounts, and I think the activity accounts are going to come to play
What about
in filling in the gap.
Things like coaching clinics?
Coaching
The
clinics,
Summer clinic in June.
anything's going to get cut. Coaching clinics are going to get cut to the bare bone. They're going on a retreat here coming up. There won't be anything like that next year. So
Like typically,
it's going to be an austere budget.
Coaches go to the Texas High School Coaching
Well, I mean,
Association.
they're not going to be doing any traveling to those conferences. So if they're going to be doing any attendance, it's going to have to be done through online and Zoom. But, you know, hotels and all that good stuff.
Of course, if you have an all-stater, you have to accompany them. But it doesn't have to be the whole staff, I don't guess.
Yeah. I think everybody's actually responded very well, very maturely to these cuts, because everyone realizes the position we're in. We had a significant drop in enrollment, and attendance wasn't that great. And all this is kind of a result of the COVID. This is what it's left us with. And so it is what it is. Dr. Pollard has actually spoken to the commissioner today. These two are getting to be quite buds, and which is a good thing. So I compliment our superintendent on reaching out to the commissioner. He said, who else can I reach out to? I said, well, the governor would be nice too, but the commissioner certainly is worthwhile. I appreciate that, Dr. Pollard.
The commissioner had very firm numbers readily available, that he said the number of kids in Texas is shrinking. So he gave by grade level numbers, and as you go from 7th grade to 6th grade, there's fewer kids. 6th to 5th, fewer. So the birth rates are down. There's just fewer young people. At one point he said Texas was an outlier and had more kids than adults. He said, I don't know if it was because of immigration or what, but he said no longer. It has evened out and there are not more kids than adults. And so I shudder to think what our enrollment will be like when we hit the pandemic era birth time. Like if you were gonna, how many women were giving birth in after March of 2020, like 9 months after March of 2020? Would you have wanted to go to a hospital and had a child during all that hysteria? Probably not. So, but I do think just anecdotally, we've seen more babies here after that. It's almost like they're trying to maybe catch up to a certain extent. So,
I'm having thoughts here with all the millions that have crossed the border, and we're going to have fewer kids in school. Okay. Well, he's not sending them then?
he said a small portion has been siphoned off to homeschool and private school. But he said by and large, their demographers have said it's reduced the birth rate. He said like young professionals from California moving to Austin, he said they don't have children, maybe one at the most. But they don't have 2.3 kids like everybody used to have. And so it's just, it's accumulating and building up to where there's just fewer kids.
And that means more money, right? For the schools, since there's less kids to disperse.
He said the only thing, he said there'll never be an appetite to give money to schools for kids that don't exist. He said the only thing the legislature might consider would be more per pupil funding. Right. He said, which might help make up the difference, but not all of it. And the other thing I asked him about was money for safety and security, because there's all these unfunded mandates coming. And he said, well, I kind of complained saying this first round of money was so narrowly earmarked. You had to either buy a shield or it was for training. And we have a lot of other expenses other than that for safety and security. We need more security cameras. We need more of that reflective wrap on the windows and doors. And I said, we need to have some latitude on how we spend it. And he claims that in October there should be another round of money coming to the districts with less handcuffs on it. You'll be able to spend it how you want to on security.
For security.
Good.
So we'll see.
Of course, as I've indicated to you before, the projection on the budget was no enrollment growth or decline, and then a 93% attendance rate, which is above the 91% that we experienced last year. So it is doable, and if anything, maybe then hopefully the enrollment will actually go up, and that would, provide us some additional relief. So let me continue down the cuts real quick. The technology, that's going to be putting off some of the, they have rotations for certain labs. And that's going to be putting off that rotation probably a year. Transportation, no bus. So we're not doing any bus like every year we wanted to do 1 or 2 buses. Maintenance, pretty good little hunk, but they have a big budget. And we've already alerted everyone that it's going to be just things that are absolutely essential. So there's not going to be any frills or, Toby is going to have to learn to say no to a lot of the requests from the campuses and athletics, and he's not going to be able to do everything he's always done in the past. And so they're going to be cutting back on their maintenance projects that they're able to do. District admin, no hamburgers and other things, no travel. So $5,000 for hamburgers each year. So probably won't be cooking hamburgers next year. So, you know, these are just things that we're gonna have to do. Curriculum and instruction, a lot of that cut is gonna be in the Kate area, and we hope to make up the difference by assigning some percentages of some of the staff at the high school to Kate, which is doable, and it's justifiable as well. Special ed, again, travel, and any superfluous supplies or wish lists and all that kind of stuff is just out the window. We just want to provide you what you actually need to do your job on a streamlined basis. You understand? Let's see what else. Hosted events, athletics, again, that's going to be whatever they bring in is what they're going to be able to spend on the hosted events and nothing more. So that total 1.7 million is a lot. It was a big challenge, but we got it done, and there weren't too many tears, and everybody cooperated very, very well. I'm proud of everybody, how they did. Any questions about the budget cuts? We'll go over this at the budget workshop in August. You don't have any questions in, Calvin. Get ready, right? So you'll see on this page here, which is after this, Barrett.
Okay.
Just a quick summary of the revenues. 30. One more. There we go. Revenues are a little over 30 million. Expenditures are at 29.5, which provides us almost a $600,000 net income. The general fund is zero. That 600 is split between the child nutrition, a couple $100,000, and the interest in sinking, 362. So if that plays out on the interest in sinking, those are funds that we would be able to use in the future to retire our debt earlier than projected, okay? As far as the fund, child nutrition, that number could disappear, you know, if participation takes a dip, and a significant dip, because we're going back to paid next year, whereas this year everybody was free. So we have no idea what that's going to really do to participation, but that 200 could eat up pretty quickly if participation, you know, doesn't hold up. So, but I want to tell you, this was the first year that food service has ever made a profit. And so I congratulate SFE, who's represented here, Stacy, in helping make that possible. That's a big feat. It took us a lot of years to get there, but we got there finally. And we're going to turn a profit in the last fiscal year. And next year, we're projecting at least a break even. Any other questions on budget? You can hold off questions until budget workshop.
Great job.
Next. Mr. Chairman.
Keep going.
Keep going. Next is property and casualty insurance renewal. This was a difficult renewal this time. We submitted for bids, and unfortunately we got only one bid that came in by the deadline. And it wasn't altogether in accordance with our specs. For one thing, they don't have the cyber security, which is important nowadays. Number two, they didn't provide us with a 3-year commitment, which is what we've had with PCAT and is what we insisted on. So basically what we did was we rejected the only bid that we got. And then we went to our existing carrier, who a little bit later, I think it was maybe in mid-June, presented their renewal rates finally. And their renewal rates were pretty much almost up to the same amount as the original bid, with the exception of the cyber. So they're including cyber in their renewal, and their bid is, their proposal is $344,000, which is an $86,000 increase. So, like, we needed another increase, but that's what's happening in the property and casualty market. And with the property values going up, the cost of construction going up, you're going to expect that property insurance is going to go up as well. So, I gave you this little chart, which showed you how we compared the TPS bid to the PCAT renewal right here. and we gave it points, and the winner came out to PCAT. If you take out the cyber part, PCAT was $329,000 versus TPS was $340,000, so they were a little lower than TPS. But again, TPS didn't include cyber on theirs. So that gives you the scoring, and it also shows you that what we had to do, we only have one choice pretty much, and that's go with the PCAT renewal on a 3-year basis. The 3-year renewal is basically, I think, where they capped their increases at 10%. And it goes beyond that, and we can get out without any penalties. So that's that. So this one here will need your approval. I've included in here, in your board packet, the list of the different kinds of insurance coverage, along with the costs, and also have the 3-year interlocal addendum that'll need to be signed. And so I'm presenting this to you tonight for approval, our 2023 property and casualty renewal, and we're recommending that we go with PCAT again. And we've been with PCAT now quite a few years. Unfortunately, the price tag get on up there, but it is what it is, and that was placed into the maintenance budget. Most of this goes into the maintenance budget. Some of this goes into transportation, the parts that deal with vehicles. But there was really almost no increase in the transportation part of the insurance. It was pretty well leveled out. It was all in the property. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Why do you think we don't get any bids?
Why what?
Why are we not getting any bids?
Why? It's a tough market. It's a real tough market.
Is it that way in the past?
I mean, we've in the past have had TASB bid. They weren't interested. They just wouldn't bid. But it's tough. I mean, that's what I hear. The property and casualty right now is very, very tough.
One of the reps cited the winter storm. Insurance companies took a beating during that. You couple in a hurricane or anything, they just said it's just not lucrative as much as it used to be. So they shy away with it. That's at least what one of the reps said.
So they kind of got us over a barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have been facing a situation where we didn't have any. Then what do? You self-insure?
Be higher.
You know, at this point, our deductible is $500,000. So when we start going through the assignments of the fund balance in August, you know how we do that every year. I'm going to assign $500,000 of our fund balance for the property deductible.
What was it in the past?
We didn't do it.
Deductible? No deductible?
It was 0.
Oh yeah, it was deductible.
Yeah.
We just didn't do a designation out of fund balance.
Right,
Yeah.
but there was always a deductible.
Mm-hmm.
Was it always 500,000 or was it less? Was it less?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
it was 500,000.
Oh, they were in the
Mhm.
past? 33%
So we're
is a
playing
pretty big
pretty close to
jump.
the vest now, in terms of our fund balance.
Yeah.
And especially, after this year, I'm not sure, we'll probably be facing a loss in 2022. $500,000, somewhere in that range, probably. And so the fund balance is going to go down.
There is some hope. Anecdotally, the principals have been enrolling kids, and so it could be that we have a bit of good luck and some fortune where other districts have not. So we'll see.
Do I hear a motion to approve this item? Okay, Linda, do I have a second? Okay, Cheyenne. Anybody else want to discuss it? All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, cafeteria meal prices.
Thank you. It's a tough pill to swallow. Property tax rates? I think I've already mentioned these to you. These are the tax rates that we plan on getting y'all to approve at the end of August, but we have a notice that goes in the newspaper in mid-August, and it has these rates in there. So I would really like the board to approve the rates before you see them in the paper. And so that's the reason we're doing it tonight before the August meeting. So the M&O will be 0.8546, which is down nearly 3/4 cent. And that's even after we increased it 1 penny. So this is again the reflection of the compression rates from the state. And then the INS, we went down 1/2 penny to a flat 20 cents. And so the total tax rate that we're going to propose is 1.0546, which is down 1.24 cents. So at least we can present to the public that tax rates are going down from last year. So that's what we'll use to project our budget. Any questions about those rates?
Do you want us to make a motion? Or just, is that information?
Yeah, this is for your approval.
Okay. Does anybody want to make okay, Jimmy makes a motion to approve the proposed 22-23 property tax rates. We have a second? Hey, Charles? Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Thank you, Board. Next
Now-
item has to do with meals, cafeteria meal prices, which we're going to ask you to approve tonight for next fiscal year. And our recommendation from management here at Gatesville is that we freeze the prices that we've had for the last 3 years on meal rates across the board except for the adult rates.
Joe, did you want Emily to give you any help?
She's going to do that. That's not
Oh, gotcha.
adult, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
We thought, in my little spiel here, I indicated that we're awaiting further guidance on the adult rates, and they started to come in today, but there's still some work that they got to do on those rates. So the adult rates are going to go up. How much they're going to go up, we're not sure, but that's going to be a requirement from TDA. And I'll present that or Emily will present that at the next meeting in August, in terms of what we're going to do. So this is just going to be the student rates tonight that we're asking you to approve. And those have been, you see here the chart on the next page, Dr. Pollard, right there. So you see a histogram of our meal rates, breakfast and lunch, for the different schools and grade levels, all the way back to 2004, 2005. I highlighted in green anytime we increase prices. So you can see there, it's been a while since we increased prices, probably 18, 19, which is pre-COVID, on the full pay over there. And then last year we had to increase the adult rates to 4 1/4 for the 21-22, and that's based on the adult meal price tool calculation. And we'll put that together in the next few days and have that at the next board meeting where you'll approve that. But that one definitely is going up, unfortunately, on the adults. So we're asking you to approve a freeze on the student meal rates for next year. These rates that have been frozen have already been calculated in the renewal rates that we negotiated with SFE. So it's nothing new. This is kind of what we projected, was a no increase in our rates for next year for students.
So the cafeteria meal prices for 22-23 will remain the same. Do I have a motion to accept that? Jimmy? Any second? Okay, Linda? All in favor? And anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Great
So
job,
Emily's going to
sir.
be presenting a different phase of food service. Thank you, Board.
Great job, Mr. Frazier.
Student Code of Conduct.
Good evening. So the Student Code of Conduct is approved by the board every year. It's only updated in a legislative session, and since this was not a legislative session year, there are no major updates from the prior year's version to this year's version. The only real update we have as a district is we're proposing this year that we have one code of conduct for the entire district, whereas in previous years we had a code of conduct for each campus. And the reasoning for that is this is a legal document. There's a lot of legal guidance that the state provides in their model handbook that we have to include in there. And in order to prevent, we feel like in order to prevent one campus overlooking something and not having it in there that we're required to provide, or because you have a lot of different people working on it, things happen. And so just our thought was we'll just propose one code of conduct for the entire district. And it's not campus specific. Again, it's mainly legal information, and the campus specific information is provided in the handbooks, which you guys will get at the next board meeting to preview. And that's just for your information only, but this is an actual action item that I do have to ask that you approve the GISD Student Code of Conduct as presented. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So normally you would highlight anything changes, but there are none.
Yeah, there's not, just other than just clerical names, positions might have changed, and so there are things highlighted in there, but it's not any specific rules or statute that changed this year.
Would someone like to make a motion that we approve the student code of conduct? Okay, Mary Ann, a second. Okay. Cheyenne, second. Any questions? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you very
Daily
much.
campus attendance snapshot times.
This one's pretty straightforward. This is the, every year our campus needs to get approved the time that they take attendance. It doesn't have to be the same across all the campuses. They all take it at a little bit different time. And a couple of the campuses tweaked it a little bit this year, but typically it's somewhere in the 9 to 10 o'clock hour. And so you can see their primary wants to do it at 9:30, elementary 10:05, so on and so forth. So again, that's an important thing that we do that's tied to funding. We will make sure the teachers are doing it accurately, but intermediate would do 9:30, junior high 9:40, high school 9:40. And again, we need to get those approved by you guys. So I would recommend that the board approve the daily campus attendance snapshot times as presented.
Do I hear a motion? Charles, second Linda. Any more discussion?
Yeah,
All in favor? I'm sorry.
I just want to know, why is the elementary at 2:05? I mean 10:05.
We adjusted that this year. It is the only time in the morning that all of my students are with a classroom teacher. It's a transitional time between rotations, and we wanted the teachers to be able to accurately have their kids in front of them, and so that was why we went to that this year.
All in favor? No one opposed. School meal charge.
Emily, you'll do this one?
I'll take this one. Not willingly, but I'll take this
Daryl
one.
won't pod stuff on you, but I will.
Some of you all know me, some don't. I'm Emily Coward. I'm the child nutrition specialist. And for the last 2 years, we've not had a charge policy in place. All students have eaten free, and they're not allowed to charge a la carte items. TDA, per USDA guidelines, has said we will go back to paid, free, and reduced this year. So we reviewed our charge policy, and looking at what we had in the past, our intermediate campus had the highest charge rate per student of $43.50. So every student on that campus that was a paid student could charge up to $43.50 before they received an alternate meal. I think that's a little high, so I did my research, and the school districts around here, Belton and Salado, their limit is $10 per student. Whether you are paid or reduced, that is the limit that you can charge. So my recommendation is that we do $10 across the board. All primary students will still be free, so there will be no charging at the primary campus. If you were a free student, there will be no charging because we don't allow a la carte. So I recommend $10 across the board because it's a lot easier at the end of the year for Bridget to collect 100 students that owe $10, which is $1,000,
versus 100 students that owe $4,350, and she's looking at $4,300 out of the campus activity account to zero that balance. Now, the other part of this is we have to offer an alternate meal if they have maxed out their charge account. In the past, we have given them an entree of their choice, pizza, burger, and a milk. Well, any kid's gonna take that and not clear their account balance because, well, hey, I can have pizza for free and it doesn't matter. So talking with Tracy and SFE and some of the other districts, they recommend doing a veggie tray. Most kids don't want a veggie tray, but it would be the fruit and the vegetable of the day along with the milk, and that's reimbursable. It would still cost the school district out of pocket $1 for each alternate meal that we serve. So that hurts us every time we serve an alternate meal. So to try to minimize those meals, we've opted to do a veggie tray this year as an alternate meal rather than a pizza or a burger. What else?
Makes sense. Do you want to make a recommendation?
I mean, my only other thought is we could do $11 per student, and that would get them 4 meals. But like I said, Belton and Salado, it's just $10 across the board. And it's a lot easier for a parent to pay $10, you know, here and there rather than be hit with a $43 balance, during the month. So I recommend that you all approve $10 per student across the board and a veggie tray as an alternate meal. We're gonna look at setting up our lines a little differently so that we don't snatch a tray from a student when they get to the checkout and realize they don't have any money, but they check out first and go through, and we'll know ahead of time, hey, you've got to get a veggie tray today instead of getting your burger or pizza. So that's my recommendation for our charge policy this year.
More discussion?
Is there nothing that says they need a protein?
To be a reimbursable meal, no. A milk, a fruit, and a vegetable is considered, as long as they have a fruit or vegetable on their tray, that's a reimbursable meal per TDA guidelines. So even today, if a kid had money in their account and went and bought a meal, they don't have to get the entree. They can get a fruit and a vegetable and a milk. They can get a grain if they want one. They don't have to take the protein for that to be reimbursable.
So what you recommending, the $10 or $11?
I recommend 10 because that's what what other districts do. I mean, in the math, $11 gets them, you know, the higher campuses, a meal is $2.75. So that would get them 4 meals. But I think 10 is pretty standard across the board from what I've seen at other school districts.
Do they charge the same for a meal as we do? Those other school districts?
I don't know. Belton and Salado, I'm not sure what their meal prices are because they're like us too. They're having to change their meal prices this year. Everybody does. So they don't have their new rates out when I look.
Any more discussion?
Could they get peanut butter and jelly?
That's what I thought it was.
Well, we can't do peanut butter. We could do sun butter, but you can't do peanut butter for allergy purposes.
Are their parents told when they charge the first time?
Yes. So
Okay.
our new
I'll figure
operating
that.
system allows us to send an email from the point of sale.
Okay.
So let's say my child, let's say Taylor comes through and she had to go in the hole and she had to charge her lunch that day. I would get an email that says, hey, Taylor has charged her meal. She's now in the negative. And that would happen the first time they charge to give the parents notice ahead of time that they haven't maxed out their account. And that's just an email button from the point of sale when they get their meal.
Okay.
So we don't wait until they've maxed out to notify the parents.
Well, that also gives them the knowledge that they either need to send money or a lunch with their child.
Right, and we use a system called My School Apps, which is tied to it's an online payment system, and My School Bucks. Well, My School Bucks, you can set it up to notify you when your student drops below a certain dollar amount. For me, it's $10. When Taylor drops below $10, I get a notification. You can set it to 5, you can set it to 2, but you can set it to notify yourself when your child has dropped below the dollar amount you choose.
Could they get a boiled egg or something? Just a vegetable.
I move that Mary Ann boil eggs.
But something, because they're gonna be awfully hungry. They're not gonna eat that probably. They're gonna be hungry before they get home.
Well, and I hate it, but it discourages these kids from, hey,
Yeah,
I'm still
but
gonna
it's
get.
usually not the kid's fault.
It's usually not the kid's fault. I will say too, we used to allow charging an alternate meal at breakfast, but we don't have a way of giving them a different alternate meal at breakfast. So we'd be out that for every kid that came in and ate breakfast.
So they could get a protein at breakfast.
My recommendation is to not do charging for breakfast. If you're in the hole, there is no alternate meal at breakfast. It's lunch only. They can get it now. The dinner program will still be free this year. So they can get a meal after school. We're really pushing that these parents will fill out these applications and qualify for free or reduced. Right now, I've already got 1,100 students qualified through SNAP or Medicaid or extended through the household. So they'll get a meal regardless. But we really want to encourage these parents to do these applications and qualify for free and reduced.
Kind of with her, I don't think it's a bad plan. I think they need to eat their fruits and vegetables. I just think that it's not their fault. That's your one thing. You're like,
yeah,
they're at their mercy of their parents who might not care.
Right. I mean, we could do a sun butter sandwich with a fruit and a vegetable. Every meal that we serve, though, costs the school district $1 that we serve as an alternate meal.
But they're charging the regular price for the meal, for the.
No, they're not. The students won't reimburse.
They're up to their thing. Okay.
Yeah, so it comes out of the school district's pocket. Every alternate meal comes out of the school district's pocket.
And the vegetables, they cost $1.
Yeah.
The sandwich didn't add anything else?
Well, SFE's locked into a rate.
Yeah, so it is a per meal fee, no matter what meal we serve, whether the kid takes everything or part of it, we charge that fee, which is 1.76. But the district doesn't buy any food. SFE purchases all the food.
Yeah.
So our rate is always the same, regardless, but whenever you're not getting reimbursement, the full amount for that meal, like normally a free student gets enough reimbursement to cover that fee plus some. But you'll be in the hole, like she said, end up be about $1 because of the small reimbursement you'll get for a paid student. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit?
We only get 77 cents per paid student for reimbursements.
So a kid comes without breakfast, their parents haven't paid, so they don't get breakfast.
Right.
Then they get fruits and vegetables for lunch.
Time to fill out the application.
What's on a sun butter? What's on a sun butter sandwich?
Yeah, sun butter sandwich would be sun butter and jelly. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It says made from sunflower seeds, and we do already serve that in the cafeterias. It is the board's choice of what we serve. I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific thing. I mean, it is your decision, and we'll do whatever. None of us ever want the kids to go hungry. We also want to make very careful that we're fiscally responsible.
Sure.
Right? When we're talking about not having money and things that you have to cut, we need to make sure that we're being responsible.
So is the happy medium then possibly the $10, but then the sun butter sandwich is the alternate meal?
It is with me. I don't know
Or could they get a choice between a sun butter meal or a fruit and vegetable?
Well, they would get the fruit and vegetable. They have to have a fruit or vegetable for it to even be counted as a reimbursable meal.
Okay.
They can't just get a sun butter sandwich and milk and count that as a meal. They have to take a fruit or vegetable. I'll be honest with you, we're having problems in summer feeding with the Boys and Girls Club coming over and those kids getting trays and they go straight in the trash. they're not eating them. You know, so we've got kids throwing food away right now. You know, no, we don't want to go without feeding children, but at the same time, we don't want them to get comfortable with knowing, hey, I'm gonna get a sun butter sandwich at lunch so I don't have to pay my balance off, and then you've got all these principals at the end of the year trying to collect $10 per kid, and if they can't, then they're out of money at their campus activity account.
Well, I think that is communication too. So, I mean, if a parent is able to pay, then if you call them a couple of times, I'm sorry, but you know, you have to do that.
Is it usually about 100 kids at the end of the year? I mean, or is that just a
Well,
random
we haven't
number?
had that, I mean, there hadn't been a charge policy in 2 years.
True.
So we haven't had anybody. But these kids that qualify for free meals, it's not gonna affect them because they're gonna get a free meal. It's the kids that qualify for paid.
Right.
You know, or
Right.
even reduced kids can charge, you know, breakfast is 30 cents, lunch is 40, they can charge up to $10. But if you're paid and you're in a position that you can't afford it, then fill out the application and get that on file.
And that's communicating too, what a person
You
can
know,
qualify for.
and those, every student gets an application at the beginning of the school year. That's
Yeah.
required, is that we give every student an application at the beginning of the school year. Whether we can't make the parents turn it in, that's up to them.
So do we want to change it to a school meal policy that has the veggie tray with the option of a sun butter sandwich?
For the kid to choose whether they
Choose
want.
can add one if he wants
sandwich?
one. They don't have to have it, but if they want one, they can ask for it.
Jimmy, what are you thinking?
They get a free dinner, didn't you say?
They get a free dinner, yes. That's available to every student, yes.
I mean, the last I heard, ketchup was an approved vegetable, wasn't it?
Not for us.
Well, that's good.
But-
See, that,
It
I
does
don't
change
want a
things,
kid
them
going
getting that last
hungry either.
meal. I didn't.
But if they're
I forgot
throwing
about that.
food in the trash and they can still get a free dinner, and they have an option of going hungry or eating fruits and vegetables, I'm for them eating fruit and vegetables. And us not going in the whole 77 cents for every student.
Well,
No,
I'll tell
we
you
give
what,
them all
Jimmy,
$1.
I don't know if you've ever been in a classroom when there might be a kid that's hungry.
I've been around a lot of hungry kids.
I know you have, but that's a hard spot.
Linda, thoughts?
Well, I see both sides of it, but, we need to think real hard on our budget versus, to me, if you limit, the $10 limit is going to make those parents able to pay it quicker.
Right.
And then they'll be in the
State.
black again.
Right.
I like the idea that you said you were really gonna promote the reduced and free meals more than in the past.
Not so, in the past 2 years, parents have not had to apply for free or reduced meals. So they're not used to, the applications have to be distributed to every student, with the exception of our primary campus, because children will still eat free at primary. That's our only campus that still qualifies for free across the board. But from elementary up, every student will be given an application to take home and fill out. One of the things TDA has come out with is, or I say TDA, it's USDA, a summer PEBT benefit. And the only way to receive that PEBT benefit, if you don't qualify through SNAP or Medicaid, is to have an application on file where you qualify for free or reduced by August 29th of this year. And I think that may be an incentive for some of these parents to fill out an application and get it back in, that, hey, I can get some money from the state for having an application on file and my kid qualifies for free or reduced.
Which brings me to this question. In years gone by, when you started the school year, if you were on free and reduced at the end of the year,
Right.
you had a certain time frame
You
to
have
get
30
that
days.
paperwork in. but they haven't had to fill these out the last time.
Right. And they're available online.
But do they still have like 2 weeks into the school year without being charged?
They have 30 school days,
Okay,
which puts us close to the end of September. They have
right.
30 school days to fill out an application before they go from their previous year status to paid.
Okay. So if they had this application during the summer, then they're eligible. Do they have to do paperwork again?
Yes, you have to qualify every year. It doesn't carry over with you each year.
Principals?
What about
The principals, like, what do y'all think?
We have hungry kids. I have kids approach me all the time when we're free saying, I'm still really hungry, and honestly, I'd buy them an entree out of my own pocket. And so, I don't know, it's a long, some of our kids don't get fed unless they're at school. That's when they get fed. I have kids that eat Friday afternoon when they leave and eat nothing until they show up Monday morning. So when I think about making them go to lunch at Monday to eat some, vegetables and fruit, it worries me a little bit for growing junior high kids personally. But I get the budget side.
But a lot of those kids you've got to look, they probably qualify for free meals.
So could we not do sending home a paper application that's not getting home? Parents are uninformed, they don't know, and they didn't know before COVID, and now they're really not gonna know. Could we do a bigger campaign, actually put it in the messenger, put it all over Facebook, do whatever we need to do to say, fill out these applications so that the parents will do it, instead of just sending on the paper at the beginning of the year and hoping they return it.
Right. And the application is online. I haven't opened up the online application yet because you all had to approve the meal prices today because they're on there for our reduced. But the parent can go online to our website and fill out. But yes, I have all the stuff to send to technology, to do a push, to send a remind, to let them know about the PEBT benefits and having it in by August 29th. But until we get to this point and y'all approve the meal rates, I couldn't release any of that. But yes, it's out there to go out to all of the parents where they can apply online. And once I get an application, I have to qualify a student within 10 days of that application. And typically I have to retroactively qualify them. So if I wait 10 days, I have to go back and qualify them based on the day it was turned in.
Well, let's say this, Daryl, can we skimp at other areas and just offer the sun butter sandwich?
I don't think they said that would cost anything.
Well, it doesn't cost us, it costs SFE extra.
Tracy, what do you think?
To include.
Well, first of all, we're gonna do whatever you want to feed kids. Ultimately, by paying us the meal fee, you do lose a little that dollar that she's talking about because of the difference between the reimbursement. We are happy to do whatever you all need us to do, and we do also have some social media things that we can customize for your district to put out and explain to parents. It's not just the child nutrition department or the students that benefit directly when they're free. There's a lot of other programs, Title I, and I'm not an educator, so I don't know all of them, but it's based on that. So a lot of times, whenever people that really need this help qualify for free, it helps the school district as a whole.
Well, let's recommend then the $10 per meal, advertise the heck out of, hey, get your free and reduced lunch in, and then let's do the sunflower, sun butter, sun dog, sun, and
I don't know
that
if
way.
the campuses want to do an incentive for kids that turn an application back in.
There's an embarrassment with
And
kids.
I think,
They're very much aware.
but I don't know that it's just so much the kids, it is some parents
Yeah.
too don't want to turn in an application. But if they do it online, nobody at school sees them. I'm the only one that sees the application and processes it.
Is the application easy to do on a cell phone?
Because our recommendation
Yes.
Is that, if you ask them to do it online on a computer, you're not getting it done?
No, it
Has to
should be,
on-
$10 bill.
it should be pretty user friendly. It goes, it should go live tonight at midnight.
And then
I'm
that gives us the latitude.
waiting on the approval
So
of
just
all
leave it
devices.
But we're
before I
telling
can
you, we will do it.
Yes.
Go live.
Okay, so we're leaving alternate.
All right, Italy, I think we're ready.
Okay.
All right, would you repeat your proposal?
So my recommendation is a charge limit of $10 per student across the board for campuses elementary and above, no charging at primary, with an alternate meal of a veggie tray, and I guess we'll add a sun butter sandwich if they would like one. And
Is that okay, teacher?
no alternate
I'll
meal.
put whatever y'all want me to put.
We'll just say alternate
Oh.
meal, and then we will.
This says alternate lunch, so we're
Alternate
just gonna leave it
lunch.
alternate lunch.
Yes, there will be no alternate breakfast.
But we will offer either one of those things, sunflower or.
Okay, does everyone understand what we're voting on?
Yeah, they have to have the fruit and vegetable, but they will get basically it's peanut butter and jelly with it.
And they'll be all for that.
Do I hear a motion?
It is hard when you have.
I'll move whatever y'all said.
Jimmy makes a motion to approve whatever we said. And Calvin seconds it. All in favor? Anybody opposed?
Thanks,
All right.
Yes, thank you.
It's hard.
Sorry to question
I don't
so
like
much.
it.
Good job.
Purchasing and reviewing criteria for library materials.
So there's been some, you'll probably seen school board meetings in other states or even here in Texas and other areas where they've had some controversy about library books being unacceptable to certain parents' opinions. And so TASB did a good thing, and they developed a policy for Texas school districts to adopt to where it would help you if you have a parent or someone challenge a book, you've got a process. What's the kind of a laid out step-by-step, okay, what do you do if someone challenges a book? And so it talks about how even purchasing books, it's a difficult balancing act between having a well-rounded library plus making sure that it's all, age appropriate. And so I'm tasking Shane, because he needs to do something controversial. Where's Shane? Shane, plus the librarians and just other professional staff members to be on this review process and purchasing process, because it's impossible to read every book. If you buy 500 books, you're not going to be able to read all of them. And so this is kind of a moot point this year, because why? We're not buying any books. So if the ones we have right now are okay, we'd probably be in pretty good shape. Now, I say that, but the librarians may use some of their activity funds to buy something, possibly, but they may not. So, again, there's no universal rating scale for books like movies. It'd be real easy if we say, okay, don't buy any R-rated books. It doesn't work like that. And so if a parent challenges a book, we'll form the committee. We'll read the book. What a novel idea, reading it. Discussing it, evaluating it, and then voting on it. And so that we're trying to make it as diplomatic and scientific as possible on something very subjective. What I consider filth, Jimmy may not. Or he might, I don't know. And so basically it allows for the removal of materials because they are, and this is a quote, pervasively vulgar or based on a lack of educational suitability. So I think most people, reasonable people, would agree you don't want something that's filthy in the library. That's reasonable. And so if by chance we get something one year or there's something hidden away, we just hadn't read it in 10 years and some kid happens upon it, and somebody says, hey, wait a second, we'll form a committee, we'll look at it, and we'll vote. Okay? So my recommendation is the policy regarding purchasing and reviewing library materials that TASB approved be approved as presented.
Any more discussion? Do I hear a motion? Linda, and I'm going to hand up second for Calvin. All in favor? Anybody opposed? All right. Revised memorandum of understanding with Sheriff's Office regarding dispatching.
Y'all approved this last month, but Brandon Bell hadn't had a chance to look at it on the county side. He redlined, tweaked a few things that were inconsequential, just some wording things. It's still free of charge with the Sheriff's Office. And so, but he wanted us to approve this with the minor changes that he said the Commissioner's Court would vote on theirs here in 4 or 5 days as well. So again, nothing major. He just wanted to, he had not had a chance to review it for the county side. But this is his approved one. Our attorney has approved it, so it's all good. So I recommend the board approve the revised MOU with the Sheriff's Office for dispatching services.
Any more questions?
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a motion? Mary Ann is second, Jimmy. All in favor? Passes. Police department policies.
I spent most of my summer writing these policies, and so we had, I can put somebody in a chokehold just like that. No, we stole a lot of this from other police departments around the state and used them as a guide, but then I also had the lawyer read over what I wrote each chapter, and so it's all been approved by our lawyer, and he made a few suggestions here and there, but on the TCOL 9-step application process that we're basically done with, the policies that they specifically wanted us to have in there: use of force, vehicle pursuit, professional conduct, domestic abuse protocols, responding to missing persons, supervision of part-time officers, impartial policing, evidence collection, and eyewitness identification. So some real specific things they wanted us to touch on, even though for a lot of school police departments it may not be real applicable, but I guess at some point it could be. And so we wrote pretty lengthy chapters for each one of those, and so we're all set from a policy standpoint. It's interesting in reading some of these sample policies, they have things like sections on cowardice, which is interesting given the Uvalde, as they've looked at that more and more. And so we've got our policies all set. So if y'all have any questions about any of them, I would recommend that the board adopt these law enforcement policies as presented.
Any more discussion? Do I hear a motion? Cheyenne, second. Okay, Charles, all in favor? Policy update.
So this is our every 6-month policy update. This was policy update 119. Again, this is stuff, it's very dry. It is TASB approved, so they're basically our governing body, so to speak, that keeps us out of trouble. And so you can see there the different topics that they touched on again, as far as little changes here and there. And so I would recommend that we approve all of those different TASB policies as presented. I'm trying to think if there's anything particular to touch on. Sometimes it was a change in a contact person. Oftentimes it was very minor. I gave y'all each a brief synopsis of each one of them just for your information if y'all had any questions about them. But I would say recommend that the board approve the local policies as listed per the recommendations by TASB.
You heard the recommendation. Do I have any more discussion? Do I have a motion to approve? Calvin, and second by Linda. All in favor? All right. All right, now we're going all the way down to election.
We've got a couple of election things here, if I can get on. So we've got to order a general election to elect 2 trustees for their 3-year terms. They'll be looming here in November. It'll be here before we know it. Tara's excited. She's looking forward to that all year round. And so the elections will be held at various locations in Coryell and Bell County. We have a little bit of GISD that gets into Bell County. And so early voting October 24th through November 4th. But even beginning right now, people can sign up to be for the school board election. And they would just need to go visit Tara, fill out a packet, and that would make them official as far as throwing their name in the hat. If we were to happen to have any election changes due to COVID, remember that one year we had some of that stuff was tweaked, but I don't foresee much of that happening. So I would recommend that the board adopt a trustee election order calling for an election to be conducted on November 8th for the purpose of electing 2 trustees for full 3-year terms.
Now, you can sign up currently until when? It's early.
See,
Like,
August 22nd.
August 22nd.
you have until August 22nd to sign up.
Do I hear any more discussion? Do I hear someone to make a motion that we adopt? Mary Ann, a second? Linda? All in favor? Election administrators.
So last one, of course, we need to have people that will run these elections in Coryell and Bell County. And so we've been very fortunate to have Justin Crothers for many years run a very tight ship on elections. And so we'll be recommending him again tonight. And then there's a new Dr. Roberts in Bell County will be the election administrator. Tara's been speaking with him some via email, and his deputy assistant, Jeanette Campion. And so I would recommend that the board appoint Justin Crothers, our Coryell County tax assessor, as our election administrator for Coryell County, and also recommend that Dr. Desi Roberts be the Bell County election administrator.
Your motion, Jimmy, a second. Cheyenne, all in favor? All right, 7:10, we'll go into executive session.
Thank you, guys.